Hi.
And yeah, go ahead.
You seem to place a lot of emphasis on trait or connecting the original trauma and how that creates the manifestations in current life and
Right.
such. In situations where, for example, I have a lot of awareness to, well, it could have been this prenatally, or this at age this happened, or this happened, and that's what creates me to be this way, or to respond this way. And oftentimes you can't know 100% for sure that that's exactly what caused it. It could have been something else. But I guess my question is, and I'm kind of confused in it, when you brought up the 5 beliefs that your son was asked to describe, I could identify with the not having value or feeling unsafe. And then, so my question, I guess, is, when you've done a lot of digging and you've kind of identified where these things come from, how do you instill a belief that you actually do have value, if that's a deep-held belief? And what ends up happening, for example, and I'm almost done, is that in my addictive patterns, I'll say, okay, I'm participating in this addiction because at this time I did this, and I can connect it all together. And then I'll say, but I don't really care. I'm going to do it anyway, and then follow through with it. So I guess the question is, how does one instill compassion for themselves? How do you change the beliefs that you're not valuable? And does that make sense?
So, all right. So thank you for the question. How do you feel about yourself when you engage in those behaviors?
Of course, poorly afterwards, but it does
No, tell me how you feel about yourself afterwards.
Ashamed,
You feel
guilty.
ashamed, okay? So, you know where self-compassion would begin? It would say, begin by saying, I'm a human being who right now haven't found a better way to soothe my pain. So I'm going to forgive myself. So self-compassion has to start in the present. It's not some trait that you acquire. And then, it's actually, you have to have compassion for the person that shows up in your life right now, which is you and your addictive behavior. I have to have compassion for the person that showed up at that family dinner and behaved in a certain way. And I have to say, yeah, you know what, Gabor? That night, you didn't know how else to deal with your pain.
Okay.
So it's got to start in the present, And you're quite right. Simply identifying intellectually the sources of your trauma are not sufficient. I've always known what happened to me. But that knowledge did not release me from the pain. That takes more work. It has to begin by accepting the pain. It doesn't matter which of those 5 things that happened to you, or all of them cumulatively led to these self-beliefs of yours. That's only important because otherwise you just see yourself as somehow naturally flawed or deficient or morally decrepit. And if you actually understand that, no, really, not to justify anything, but those behaviors, they did come out of something. And it was my response to a kind of experience that no child should have had to endure. So that's important. But you're quite right. That doesn't by itself releases you from it. So you have to begin with that self-compassion. And that self-compassion needs to be for the person that you actually are. And if right now you're that person who still engages in addictive behaviors, then have compassion for that person and see what that feels like. So that's where you need to begin.
Thanks.
And it's not a matter of instilling any beliefs. I could do affirmations till the cows come home. Mm-hmm. I'm a soul. I'm a child of God. It all may be true, but it's meaningless, right? No, it's not a question of instilling a belief in your own value. From another perspective, value is a natural quality that you have simply because you exist. So it's not a question of talking yourself into having value. It's a question of seeing what's in the way of your acceptance of your value. Oh, there's this belief that I have no value. That's why I try to impress that person so much with my intellect, because I believe I have no value. Oh, so that's what that was about. So just see the way in which it shows up, the belief that you have no value. And the more you can see those behaviors compassionately, the more your natural sense of value, which is already in you. And by the way, how do I know that it's in you? How do I know that that natural sense of value is in you? How do you think I know that?
You choose to believe it?
No. You showed me that. Do you know how you showed me that?
No.
Who do you think asked me the question? If you didn't value yourself, why would you sit in a group of 200 strangers and ask such a courageous question? Something in you says, I'm valuable enough that I want to know the answer to that question. I matter. I'm going to put my hand up. I'm going to speak out. That part of you is your value. It's not a theoretical thing I'm talking about. You demonstrated your value right here by the very fact that you valued yourself enough to bring yourself here tonight. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you then.
Thank you.